Okay, get this. Imagine an explosion so huge, so powerful, that it actually damages the Statue of Liberty. And this wasn't just some accident, it was an act of war on American soil, years before the US officially entered World War I. Now, this isn't a movie plot, it's the absolutely true story of the Black Tom Sabotage, and a quest for justice that would take, get this, nearly 40 years to resolve.
One source we looked at called it the ultimate insurance claim mystery. And you know what? That's the perfect way to describe it. It was a puzzle that would take an entire generation of investigators, lawyers, and diplomats just to piece together. Just look at this timeline. The explosion itself happened in 1916, but the final settlement, that wasn't reached until 1953. I mean, that's a 37-year gap. So the big question is, why? What on earth could possibly take that long to sort out?
Right at the heart of this whole mystery is an unpaid debt. A debt that was born from a secret act of war right here on American soil years before the US ever officially joined the fight. And this single debt, man, it would ignite a legal and political firestorm that would burn for decades.
So let's go back. Let's travel back to where it all started, July 30th, 1916. We're on Black Tom Island, New Jersey. It's this huge munitions depot, a really critical link in the supply chain for the Allied forces fighting over in Europe.
So, in the dead of night, Black Tom doesn't just catch fire, it erupts. The blast is so massive that it actually registered as an earthquake on seismographs. I mean, think about that. This was a man-made catastrophe on a scale that's almost impossible to imagine. The night just unfolds in these waves of terror. At 2:08 a.m., the first blast shakes the entire harbor. But that was just the warm-up act. A little over 30 minutes later, the main depot goes up, a cataclysm so big it shatters windows in Times Square. And by dawn, the full, horrifying picture of the devastation comes into view. The impact was just devastating. Shrapnel literally rained down on the Statue of Liberty, causing so much damage that her torch is still closed to the public to this day. The blast itself was so powerful, it was felt all the way in Philadelphia.
And the financial cost? For the time, it was a staggering $20 million. If you're wondering what that means for us today, that's well over $500 million. All of it, just gone in an instant.
So the big question was this just some tragic accident? And yeah, that was the first assumption. But as investigators started digging through the rubble, a much, much darker story started to emerge.
The investigation began to focus on this one word: sabotage. This wasn't just about negligence. No, this was a deliberate, calculated act. It was designed to cripple the Allied war effort by destroying American-made munitions before they could even get to the battlefield.
And after a really long and difficult investigation, the FBI finally uncovered the truth. This was no accident. It was a sophisticated plot orchestrated by agents of the German imperial government, all operating in secret on neutral American soil. Let's be clear about what this was. For all intents and purposes, it was an act of war, an attack carried out years before the United States would officially declare war on Germany.
But here's the crazy part. Knowing who is responsible, that was just the beginning. Holding them accountable, well, that turned out to be a monumental challenge. It kicked off a legal battle that would drag on for 37 years.
So why the long wait? Why did it take so long? Well, the path to justice was blocked by some major hurdles. First, international law at the time gave nations something called sovereign immunity, making it nearly impossible to sue a government. Second, you had to prove the German state itself ordered the attack, not just some rogue agents. That was an immense challenge. And on top of that, Germany just denied everything, and the whole issue got tangled up in the massive war reparations after World War I. It was a total diplomatic and legal nightmare. The legal journey was an absolute marathon. It all started with civil claims, which eventually led to creating a special commission just to handle these disputes between the US and Germany. But progress stalled for years. And in a really strange twist, it wasn't until after a Second World War that a real breakthrough finally happened, setting the stage for the final negotiations.
So after decades of these legal battles, a fight that literally outlasted many of the original people involved, the end was, at long last, finally in sight.
And so, after nearly 4 decades of arguments, of evidence, of diplomatic maneuvering, the longest-running sabotage case in American history was finally closed.
The year was 1953. 37 years after the explosion, a new government, this time West Germany, finally agreed to settle the claim and pay for the damages its predecessor had caused. So, what's the takeaway from this incredible story? I mean, why does an event from over a century ago still matter to us today? Well, it's all about the long shadow cast by a single act.
If there's one thing to remember, it's this. A single act of covert war can cast an incredibly long shadow. Its consequences can echo through generations, shaping international relations and even the law itself for decades to come.
And it leaves us with this really thought-provoking question. Sure, a financial settlement was eventually reached, but how do you really put a price on an act like this? How do you actually quantify the lives lost, the fear, the precedent that was set?
I think the story of the Black Tom explosion leaves us with a really powerful and, frankly, haunting truth. Some debts, whether they are financial or moral, can take decades to pay.